Hello, it has been a hot minute since I have done one of these. I did not mean to quit booktube. I just, had a busy month-ish. So it is nearly the end of October, and today I'm just going to talk about the books I read in the month of September. We're doing it. So the first book I read in the month of September was A Light in the Flame by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I adored this book. I believe I gave it 4 stars in the moment. However, it has just sat with me so well that I think I'd bump it up to 4.5 or 5, probably 4.5, just because there were a couple of things. I thought the book dragged in parts, but man, yeah, Seraphina has become one of my favorite characters in a really long time, and I, again, am not a romance person, but I love her and Nyktos and their relationship and just the world that Jennifer L. Armentrout has created. I think that this was very much a lore dump heavy book. Not that I particularly minded it. It was all interesting, and she very much kept my engagement up throughout, and I'm feeling like I'm having a hard time coming up with things that are coherent to say about it because, I read it, and on Goodreads it says I finished it on September 1st. So, I don't exactly have all of my thoughts together, but I can tell you I really adored this book. The next book I read was the second volume to the My Happy Marriage light novel series, which is an anime that I adore. However, it is just not a light novel series I've read, and so I have recently I've started to get into light novels ever since I read 86, and so I started My Happy Marriage just because it's an anime I love, and it's an ongoing light novel series to my knowledge, so I decided to read My Happy Marriage Volume 2, and it did not disappoint. It covers one of my very, very favorite arcs in the entire anime. And this was like by far a 5-star book for me because it's just like beautiful the way that the author delved into the themes of this book, and for Neo to learn to navigate her relationships in fear of getting hurt is something that just really, really stood out to me in this book, and it stood out to me in the anime when I watched it originally. But beautiful, beautiful book, beautiful exploration of themes. I think that My Happy Marriage is actually a really underrated but beautiful series in general, and I adored this part of the book. Yeah. The next book I read was A Fire in the Flesh by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this was by far my favorite book of the month. I have been reading these alongside my friend, not really alongside my friend, she's been telling me to read them forever, and I dragged my feet for a long time until I finally read them, and I love them. But A Fire in the Flesh is the 3rd book in the Flesh and Fire series, and I honestly can't decide because I did read the last one in the month of October, I can't decide if this is my favorite or the last book is my favorite, but this gutted me emotionally in like all of the perfect ways, and so much of this book was pain with a bittersweet but kind of happy ending. It was mostly pain. I absolutely despise Colas. I don't think that I am alone in that, but he solidified himself as one of the most hated characters on my list of hated characters. Just the things he did were despicable. I think that the things that happened in this book, the fallout of things that he did, were explored so well in the following book. Which honestly just like makes this book better. There is something very hard to read that happens in this book, so I would be warned if you need to look up any trigger warnings before you read this book. I'm not typically one that does that, but if you feel like you need to look up trigger warnings before this book, I would absolutely go ahead and do that. But either way, Sarah's journey, this was actually like funny in a lot of ways too, because Sarah is such an unhinged character, and Nektos is indisposed for most of this book. So to see Sarah be Sarah without anybody to check her, keep her in check, is wild. There are also like insane reveals in this book too. There was one in particular that makes so much sense once you know that that's true, but I absolutely did not see coming until one line, and I figured it out. But like, oh my god, that reveal was so great. There was another reveal that I also didn't see coming, but again made so much sense when it actually happened. But this book was a masterpiece. I think that the big climactic emotional scene was perfect, and like still is ringing in my mind even though I finished it in like the middle of last month. Excellent book. 5 stars. The next book I read was My Happy Marriage, volume 3. I really liked this. I give it 4 stars. I feel like this book takes place in like the first couple episodes of the second season, and I do remember I felt like that part of the second season took a dip. And not that it necessarily took a dip within the book for me. I just think that the last book, that's just still one of my favorite chunks in My Happy Marriage to date, and that journey was so perfect to me that like this one it's fine. We go see Kyoga's family. His mom is a jerk, but I mean, I like that she's not actually a jerk. I do like the nuances that end up getting explored, where you see that his mom, like, yes, she is a hard-ass woman, but she does it because that's how she knows how to show her love to her kids. I like the parallels between her and Kyoga. I love Mio and her desire to be the best she can be for her family, and how it's so hard for her to interact with his mother, but she has like a soft spot in there for her, and the whole thing is very good, and it's very understated. And the only reason I kind of give this 4 stars instead of the 5 stars is because it like can't live up to book 2 to me. That's really the only reason it's 4 instead of 5, because I still absolutely adore this series too. So it's still 4 stars. It was good. And the last book I read this month was The Third Bear by Jeff Vandermeer, and I'm a huge fan of Jeff Vandermeer. I love his weirdness. I love how he can so satisfyingly make my skin crawl. Born by Jeff Vandermeer is one of my favorite books of all time. The one you've probably read if you've read any of them is Annihilation. That's his famous book. But yeah, this one was weird. It's a collection of short stories, and they delivered in every way I want a Vandermeer book to deliver. They made my skin crawl. There was this really weird, creepy one about a talking rabbit that we don't actually know if it was a rabbit. Like any Vandermeer books, you don't really get a lot of answers, but that one is one that stuck out with me because, like, there's just this part where the rabbit keeps repeating, "I am not a rabbit, I am not a rabbit," and you never get the answers, and that leaves you unsettled in a good way. There is also one that serves as a kind of prequel to Born. It never actually says his name, but you are made to assume that it is Wick's prequel story within the company before Born happened, and oh my god, that was really weird but good, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I gave this a 4 star because I think there were a couple that kind of lulled, but otherwise, really, really good, solid Vandermeer book. This is not for everyone. Vandermeer is 100% for me, though. So, if you read this and are like, "What the hell did I just read?" You've been warned. Well, thank you for watching. These are all the books I read in September. It's almost the end of October, and I will talk about the books I read in October before October 27th, or whatever or November 27th or whatever day today is. But yeah, I'll do that. Happy Halloween. I would love to hear what you have been reading recently, because I have been itching to talk about books. So I will see you in the next video. Bye.